Hello, my name is Anna, and I had the wonderful opportunity to work at ONCE this summer, 2025. Some things that I would like to share are: we know as teachers that we need to have scaffolded lessons, but in this case, it was a must. The lessons needed scaffolding. They needed to be very well prepared and very well done in a way that every single student could follow. Another thing that is extremely important is let students take their time. Okay, I think that we live in a complicated society that everything has to be for, I don't know, last week, yesterday. But if we take the time, we can have great surprises, and we can see that they know more than we expect. It was extremely important to have thorough lesson plans, and very well appreciated as well. Thank you, all the team. It was a marvelous experience, extremely rewarding. I would like to do it again, of course. And if I could give some advice, I think that the first thing is know the material, get to know the things you're going to teach, of course, but also let the class flow in a way that you can have fun, and so the students, because in the end, like, what matters is that they're going to have fun and they're going to learn in a nice way, which I'm pretty sure we do it very well. Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Adam, and I'm a teacher for British Council Madrid. This summer, I worked with visually impaired primary and secondary children at ONCE in Madrid. I did an hour a day of arts and crafts with 2 classes for 4 days. And in those 4 days, we made a number of crafts, including a picnic scene using plasticine and a rain stick. I thoroughly recommend the ONCE summer camp. It was an amazing and rewarding experience, as the children really enjoyed the activities and showed great enthusiasm throughout the classes. My top tip for teaching visually impaired young learners is to just give them the space to demonstrate what they can do. Don't try and take over, even if it's tempting to do so. You will be surprised what they can achieve on their own, which is the main aim of these classes.
Hi, I'm Elsa. I'm the Special Educational Needs Coordinator at the British Council in Madrid, and I'm also a young learner teacher. My first experience teaching visually impaired students was as a result of the collaboration between ONCE and the British Council, and my main concern was not being able to do things that I knew worked and that I was very used to doing, that I have been doing for many years. And also not being able to improvise. So, for example, not being able to very quickly switch tasks depending on the mood of my students or the energy of the group, or not being able to do a brain break suddenly if I saw my students really need it. So once I started teaching this class and I got to know more about my students' needs, I realized that I was still able to do all these things. I was still able to improvise if needed, but I just needed to keep an open conversation with them, to check in with them and make sure that what I was doing was right for them, that what I was doing was working for them. And this way, I was able to carry on doing games and improvising when needed, but just doing it slightly differently. Another thing that I discovered was that it was very important as well to find out what my students liked and what my students were able to do. So I started using them as a resource because they were very interested, for example, in preparing games for the group or preparing presentation about a topic of their interest. So we did a lot of this, and this way we switched from focusing on what they couldn't do, what their impairment was, to actually focusing on all those things that they could do, and they led these initiatives. So keeping an open conversation with them about their needs, about their interests, and also about with their families would be my final advice.
Hi, my name's Sam, and I'm an academic manager on the British Council and ONTHE courses. And my advice to teachers would be that when you first start teaching visually impaired learners, it's completely normal to feel a little bit overwhelmed, but to have confidence in what we already know how to do. So obviously it's really important to talk to our students and to find out exactly what their needs are. So there are lots of different types of visual impairment. We need to know, for example, if they're going to access their learning texts and language in Braille, or can they read enlarged print, or are they going to use a screen reader and listen and read text with the screen reader? And in this way, then we know that they can access their learning, and we can get the balance between autonomy and support just right for them. There are lots of our existing teaching skills and methodology that we can also make use of. So, for example, lifting materials off the page tends to work really, really well with visually impaired learners. For vocabulary, for example, we can have little vocabulary cards with the words written in either in Braille or in print, and they can play games categorizing the words into different groups, or choosing word cards and giving definitions to their peers and guessing the words, things like that. Using toys and realia is also a really, really good way of introducing new language. And again, they can use the word cards and they can match them up to the objects instead of matching them to pictures. So that's another way that we can use those. They tend to be really good at mimicking pronunciation as well. So you can play lots of games where they're listening and repeating new language. And they tend to be really, really motivated. So we can always have a lot of fun learning with them.
Part of my experience with the ONTHE group that made it really, really important for me, and I think for them, was the amazing communication that we had within the group. So it was a group of adolescents, different ages, from 12 to 15, 16. They all got on really, really well, and they all wanted to share with each other and with me their experiences, their feelings, their sensations. Something else that was very important and took a part of this communication, this important communication, was something that I could do before and after the class to help them, to help smooth the way for the topics that we were going to discuss, the vocabulary, the grammar that we were going to be looking at in the classes. So before the class, I would send reading or a text with new vocabulary, for example. I would send it to them so that they could calmly have a look at it, use the apparatus that each of them had a different visual impairment, so they used different sorts of screen readers, etc. Braille, all different things, magnifying the screen, and so that they were able to read the input before coming to class, so that nobody came to class feeling nervous or worried that they weren't prepared, they weren't going to be able to follow what we were going to be doing in class. And then after the classes, I would always send them another PowerPoint using the same format, a very simple PowerPoint with a lot of the decorative features removed. Send them a PowerPoint with the main points of the things that we've been covering that day in class, maybe the answers to an exercise that we've done, and the vocabulary and the grammar points that had come up during the conversations. And that before, during and after made for a very satisfying whole, I think, for me definitely, and I hope for them too.
First of all, I would say learn as much as you can about your students. Learn about them as people, teenagers, learn about their hobbies, their families, their likes, dislikes, and learn about what they can and can't do as well. It's very important to know this in order to plan your lessons and conduct your lessons the best way. Also encourage them to learn about each other and to share their experience as visually impaired students in the world, at school and in their own lives. This is a special context where they can do that, and it's important for them to be able to express their feelings and share their experience with each other. This would help them bond, and it would, create a better atmosphere in the class as well. We obviously teach them English, but it's, we teach them much more than that. So this would create that special space for them to feel safe. Also, I would like to say that if you have any concerns at all, talk to the parents. They would be the best people to guide you, advise you, tell you about their children, and maybe also to reassure you that what you're doing is the right thing. But don't be afraid to give them homework. They like producing interesting homework. They can write. They can write very interesting text, in fact. They can produce PowerPoint presentations. They can produce interesting projects. Allow them to work on the projects with each other, so they feel that they have support. It's also very important to be patient. Be patient with them and be patient with yourself. Allow them time to manage their own emotions. Expect them to be frustrated from time to time, but allow them time out as well if necessary. And be patient with yourself, because it's a new experience. And that's like with every new experience, you learn something new every day. And enjoy yourself as much as you can. It's a very rewarding experience. And ask for help. If you need the slightest bit of help, ask for help. Ask them to help you with your with any tech issues that you might have in class, because they know their devices, they know the system sometimes better than we do. So ask them for help if you need any.
Hello, my name is Louis. I taught in the British Council Madrid last year and had a completely blind student in my class. So I've been asked to get in contact and answer a few questions. So the first one is related to the best ways to help your student. I would say planning is absolutely perhaps the most important thing, aside from your compassion. So when you're planning, please make sure that you're taking into account that he or she cannot see. So if you've got everything planned out, you'll find that it would be so much easier and a more pleasant experience for them. So planning, I would say. And also I would say listen to them as well. Don't be afraid to have a conversation with them about how they feel the lessons are going and if their needs are being met and what they would like to happen. And you can talk to their regular teachers as well to find out what they do to help the student. And then the last thing is like sort of what I've got out of it. I would just say it's a very rewarding and pleasurable experience if you can line it all up and get yourself organized. Yes, it's very challenging, but if you can do it well, then it's very rewarding. Yes, and it can stretch you as a teacher and improve you. So that's it. Thank you for listening.